Right, so here we are, BVD versus Carbon, and the draft will commence, and it's actually kicking off differently. This time we see a Kunkka banned out in the first phase, when earlier he was always banned out in around the second phase.
Well, the Kunkka is also a tier 1 ban pick or a pick. I've seen how Bobs does it at APGs. You know, as a support, he is really, really strong. And also with the initial damage that he does, I mean, get that Tidebringer to level 3, for example, and you're level 5, right? So one hit, the support of the other team is probably going to lose half of their HP. That's how powerful it is right now, and that's quite important if you have him in the draft. Then you can just go around it as well, and then just have your position 5 to get the wards in while he gets an armlet, for example. And that's going to be so powerful, right?
It's quite devastating.
Right, and then OD the same as well. OD is a very, very strong mid. He can get to the carry position easily, and as we talked about, the Axe ban from the Dire and the Drow Ranger to come in.
Yep, and next up, obviously, Drow Ranger and Axe banned out. I know Succubus is sad to see the Axe go, but Jubba?
Oh, the Axe has been an absolute devastation. As soon as the Axe gets his Blink online, Blade Mail, Vanguard, it's very difficult for teams to actually deal with the Axe because they've got so much to deal with. So not just wanting to deal with the Axe, but it looks like Bravado is trying to just ban out heroes that can kind of control them. So it kind of leaves themselves open for the SD pick, which is scary.
Well, it's not only that BVD is banning heroes that can control them, but also Axe is a very, very strong hero.
Yeah.
Regardless of who you're playing against, if you're an Axe, you just go in, playing Dagger, 2-3 heroes spin, and then you just go call them.
Yeah, definitely, and it's not just that. I mean, Blade Mail now goes through BKB, so it's one of the most viable heroes again in the meta, and it's just a devastating. It really is just devastating. It goes through all the heals. It does. It can Culling Blade anything or Culling Blade anything, but you're seeing the classic Shadow Demon Mirana combo coming up here. Something we haven't seen in a little bit.
I was looking forward to this. I was looking forward to it yesterday, and I'm glad to see it come out onto the field now.
And obviously, Kitty being one of the very meta picks at the moment, especially with her new Aghanim's upgrade, you know, double Star Storm, it's quite devastating in team fights. Yeah. And, you know, getting that quick Aghanims online, she can just quickly, you know, leap in or blink in. It's normally like the Aghanims blink Lincoln's kind of build. And then obviously on the side of Carbon, we have a lot of disable, and you know, Skyreth Mage being a very annoying hero in lane. I mean, I always when I go, oh god, I'm facing a Skyreth Mage in lane, I know I'm going to get harassed. And Sand King becoming a very favorable offlaner these days. What's your opinion on that, Jubba?
Absolutely devastates, especially melee offlaners. I mean, at Caustic Finale, you normally now see the Sand King upgrading the Caustic Finale, absolutely wrecking the lane. And I saw it yesterday when one of the teams tried to run a Axe in the lane against the Sand King, and the Sand King still completely dominated that lane and made his life an absolute misery. So teams looking towards that, also the ability to stun out the players, the epicenter coming out from him as well, just doing so much in team fights as well. Especially once he gets his Blink online as well, then it's a whole different ball game.
It definitely is, and you're seeing fairly standard bans here. I mean, you've got the Luna. Obviously, they were worrying about the Shadow Demon combos with Luna. I mean, making illusions with that thing just takes your base.
The problem is they've still got a lot of other options to look towards. You've still got the Terrorblade, you've still got the AM, you've still got the CK, the Morphling. So Bravado's got a couple of options that they can tie up with the SD.
Yeah, well, we talked about the Luna, very strong hero, very strong carry. With the, I don't know if he wants to go Dragonlance or whatever, it's out already, right? But the other 3 heroes are quite important. Like, they're all in the top 10 meta. Invoker, Seam, wow, what a player on that hero, right?
Yes.
You don't really want to play against the hero, so Carbon's like, okay, click that hero, just get that over with. But otherwise, talking about the Mirana, they've got the Aghanim Scepter on her now, so she's a very capable mid player. Yeah. But yesterday, Bravado ran a Flares support Mirana on the first game against APG. They lost it, but it's still a very strong role. And right now, they left it very open for Carbon to think that, is it going to be a roaming support Mirana and Shadow Demon? Or is Shadow Demon just going to go around and then maybe help the mid Mirana a little bit here and there? Just get that Aghanim set as soon as possible and then start killing people.
Oh, she's always been very versatile. I mean, even if you just run her as a position 4, for instance, she can just get her Aghanims, and from there she can just flash farm with it. So, I mean, she can get her items up fairly fast.
Yeah, Nick's just showing his hands right now.
I'm happy to see this big ugly...
dying.
I'm happy to see this big ugly guy on the deck. Now, this is a bit of a risky draft in my book. Undying, one of my favorites. Very aggressive. Wants to get in your face within the first 20 minutes of the game. And once you basically win the game, push, hard and get in there very, very, very early. Very aggressive hero. And immediately he's actually countered by the Dazzle. It did leave it open. Heals tend to bugger up the game of the Undying, as he relies a lot on the strength steal from his Decay in the early stages of the match to secure the kills. The Dazzle kind of buggers that up a little bit because you're missing less strength, which only amplifies the heal, in inverted commas, from the Shadow Wave of Dazzle. So, Morphling comes out to play, and you saw a lot of Morphling yesterday, didn't you?
Oh, I think it's a little bit of a deny pick for the side of BVD. Carbon decides to snack it up for themselves. But what's more interesting is to see the Husker Dazzle pick completely went through. And now I am afraid for Carbon. I mean, Morphling is really strong, but not being able to tie it up with the SD. Can the Manta do enough? Can the Lincolns do enough? We'll have to wait and see. The Undying, I feel, kind of limits the length of the game that Carbon wants to play. The Undying kind of like starts saying, right, well, we've got to push at around about the 30-minute mark, otherwise Undying's going to get really overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Whereas Bravado, they just keep on scaling perfectly into the late game. So Bravado's going to be happy to sit it, take it late. Carbon's going to need to make plays early, but now Morphling needs her farm to get to the late game. So it's going to be this back and forth, I feel, so far.
Yeah. And what a disgusting combo. I mean, Dazzle Husker. It's just...
It would be even worse if Oracle comes into it as well.
Yeah, it would be. But then they don't really have a legitimate late game to answer for Morphling.
No.
So I think they need to pick a bit smarter. But, you know, Undying can be ferocious. I mean, especially with the Skyrush Mage slowing everyone as well, on top of Tombstone and Decay. So, I mean, it's be interesting to see what will happen here. But, I mean, if he gets the Dazzle, if he, you know, goes for both targets, they both get low, Dazzle can only really shallow grave one person, and then he's secured a kill on the other. So it's still a strong pick, but it needs to do a lot of work in the early game to be viable, because it falls off really fast.
What do you think this is going to be? Is this going to be a Seam Marana or a Flares Marana? Husker Seam? Where do you think they're going to run the Husk?
It's probably going to be the carry Husk so far as we can see in the draft. But you never know what BVD Emotion is going to do. I mean, Marana, is, if it plays mid, that naturally means that Husker is going to play the carry role. Play the early game and try not to take 40 minutes to beat Carbon with the Morphling in their hands. But they're surprising. They could pick someone that's even more harder carry than a Huskar right now, and then shift the Dazzle Huskar, as Chanel mentioned, to the offlane, right? It's not impossible, and then have the Shadow Demon help out the carry, the main carry position one at the safe lane to do what they want. But let's just keep that open for now. They banned out the Templar Assassin, showing that, okay, Strike is going to play someone more physical. So that's what they've been doing as well. They banned out the Kunkka, the Axe that's pure damage, sure. There's the Void, the Juggernaut as well, and here's all the right clickers that they banned out. So that's what they're afraid of. Carbon has to make use of that and think that, hey, these guys are afraid of physical damage because we have a Huskar, right? Yep. So, yeah, just do it. I mean, get them around, get the sentries down, and the team fight should be top-notch. Just have to wait until we see what's going to be 44 seconds,
and also,
actually.
it reveals the axe. It reveals the axe ban as well. Like thinking, oh, we want to do the Dazzle Huskar thing. We can't have an axe on the field because in Shallow Grave is basically null and void. We can't Shallow Grave anyone. And a Tinker comes out. And we've seen how effective a Tinker can be.
So this is the surprising strategy that I was talking about for the Invoker, not the Bravado Emotion team. And it's just so open. Carbon's like, okay, what the hell do we do right now? Because Tinker is possibly going mid. That means it's going to be a carry Marana by Flares, right? Who played support yesterday. Now it's going to be like, oh, I'm not supposed to go mid to shoot at arrows right now. But otherwise, I don't know. It's surprising to see what Carbon's going to do.
Well, I mean, the sheer genius of that is that Huskar vulnerable to physical damage, because obviously magical damage, he just kind of bounces off him. The genius of picking up this Tinker is that Laser is going to be doing so much work, adding that mischance to whoever's trying to wail on to the Huskar. And, I mean, it's just from there on in, it's just a absolute parade of tears for the side of Carbon. So they've got a lot of thinking to do in this final minute in their draft. Jubba, what do you think is going to come out here?
I think, well, for the final pick for Carbon, it's going to be a tough one. They're going to need something to actually deal with the Tinker. Maybe we can see a little bit of a Razor, perhaps. And but I'm looking at more what the Shadow Demon's going to do here. The option of being able to get the defensive disruption on the Husker once he's on low HP. To play that defensive disruption, the Husker's going to come back with two other illusions, rocking the enemy heroes, and then they've also got the option of just disrupting the Morph, and then he's got pretty much a Morph on his own team. So, I mean, even if the Morph does get a little bit farmed and get a little bit out of control, Shadow Demon's always there to actually just keep Carbon at bay.
It's not just that, the Tinker just rats as well, and it's almost impossible, like, coming in the high ground against the Tinker.
Yeah.
Because he just, marches the machines, rockets, laser, booster travel, rearm, come back. It's just a nightmare against the Tinker for any type of push, and especially with squishy heroes like Skyrath or Queen of Pain as well. Queen of Pain can do a lot around the map. She can go gank, pick off, and maybe get a fast Orchid up, so stopping the dazzle from shallow graving people.
Well, just looking at the players that actually picked up the heroes, we've got Donnie picking up the Tinker. Is this going to be an offlane Tinker?
This is actually going to be until they pick the heroes. We
Wow.
we have
They
no
can swap.
idea.
They can do the swapperoo again.
So basically what's happening now is that they have a Morana, a Tinker, and a Huskar, right? But we think Donnie as the aggressive player, right?
Yeah.
Out of the three, Huskar is an aggressive player. Early game, go. Let's just kill people. Let's get to that level 6 and then just keep snowballing the whole game. And then there's that Tinker. Seam is brilliant on these types of heroes. Like he goes Invoker, Spellcaster, and then he goes around there, right? And then he just goes around and gets that blink and then just does what he does as a mid. Like, he's like the best mid player in South Africa right now. So I don't think that Donnie is going to be the Tinker player.
Oh, we've seen most unusual things in the past. I mean,
Right.
Bravado so versatile that they
Right.
often swap roles.
Yes.
So it could be, but I doubt it as well.
Yeah, this is exactly what's Carbon thinking about as well. It's like, okay, if they play a mid Huskar and let's say a safe lane Tinker, they're going to need to swap the strats around because they did play the most standard roles. We've got not the Tinker, but the Queen of Pain mid, and then we have the Undying supports, and then Skyrath Mage, Sand King to the off lane. So they've got to make it work, right? The best possibility is that let the Huskar go to the safe lane, play against a Sand King that is probably going to rot if he's alone, right? And then we've got the Morana to the off lane. Just play it casually because, flares can switch positions, or they can have Donnie play an aggressive Morana where he plays it on off lane. That's his usual position, and then have the Tinker go mid. Lots of possibilities, but we're waiting.
Yep,
Yeah, I
certainly.
think it's going to be very interesting how they do the lineup, and I think Carbon's sitting on behind their PCs and saying, well, going through the exact same questions in their own head. What are they going to run it? How are they going to run it? And I think the way Carbon's actually drafted their lineup is their players are kind of in a specific role. They can't really swap around. Doesn't have the ease that BVD does actually have. So it kind of leaves them in a little bit of a precarious position at the moment.
Yeah.
So Carbon's going to really need to think about how they're going to actually lane it.
Do you think that the Undying third pick was potentially a mistake from the side of Carbon?
I think they were trying and get an early timing push. I mean, he excels really early, really. It's out to actually win the lane. But then during team fights, all you can really do is throw down the tomb, try and get as many DKs off, and just heal your players where you can. And I think that's pretty much what they can do at the moment. So I think Carbon's got a little bit of a timing issue. Yeah. They've got to try and finish the game by like 40 minutes. Otherwise, Huskar's just going to eat into Mummy and... yeah, good night, sweetheart.
Well, they do have a Morphling, so if it goes late game, they can rely on him. And they also have 4 AoEs. If you include the Undying's Tombstone, you have the Queen of Pain, you've got the Skyrath Mage's ulti, and you've got your Epicenter.
Yeah.
So in team fights, it's highly possible that they can win all of it, right? You've got the Morphling there as well. So a wave, if you go shotgun, burst out the other team's carry. Morana, for example. So it just really depends on the early game. I don't think that Carbon wants to play a Sand King against the Huskar. I think he's going to try to lane him against wherever the Morana is going to be, and then the Tinker against the Queen of Pain, where I think they can have actually a 50-50 fight there, and then have the Huskar. Well, you have no choice, right? You've got to let him farm up a little bit. But then the Morphling is going to be there as well.
And to be honest, I think the Undying pick, I don't think it would have been banned out, because I don't think they were going to be expecting Undying. Undying is hardly drafted anymore. So I think they could have maybe picked something else and then left that Undying pick for a bit later, because then they would have seen the Huskar revealed and maybe pick a Windrunner or something to that effect, something that can contest, a Huskar. Something with Windrun, like she Windruns and ultis a Huskar. With Aghanims and a little bit of damage, that Huskar is, pretty dead. So it's...
Look, I suppose maybe going for the Mummy a little bit earlier in the draft doesn't reveal too much. The
yeah.
problem is it then also says to BVD, okay, we're not really that strong. We've got a Mummy, so we're going to really be good in our laning phase. But then as the game goes on, it's going to get a little bit more tougher for Carbon to get the foothold that they actually need. So then BVD says, okay, well then in response we're going to get a Huskar, we're going to get a Dazzle, we got Weave. We're going to just basically heal up all our players. I mean, as soon as you start getting that decay off, their HP pool becomes a lot lower. One weave, one heal from Dazzle kind of puts all your players back on full HP again. So, I mean, it's a really tough draft. I think at the moment BVD's got the better side of things, and then we'll then actually see what goes on from BVD, if they can actually make it work for them.
Well, I mean, there's a whole lot of chit-chat about the Undying specifically because, I mean, his role is going to have to be very, very tightly played, whatever it may be. There's a lot of nuke on the side of the draft of the boys on Carbon.
His placement of his tombstones is going to have to be really, really good because they're just going to,
This is the question. What kind of Undying can we see? Because Undying is one of those characters that can build into different kinds. You can get a utility Undying that focuses on healing, focuses on getting the items that are required, such as a pipe, such as GG boots, all sorts of utility items. A Lotus Orb one distant day away.
Yeah.
You know, so are we looking at a utility Undying or a nuking Undying to combo up with the other nuke of the team?
I think it's going to have to be a utility Undying. It's going to have to be mech into Greaves, into Pipe, into maybe a Vlad's, you know. It has to be that aura monster. Into an Aghanim Scepter. I mean, Aghanim Scepter Undying, his ulti with Aghanims, it's going to heal his team, it's going to reduce the damage. You know, he can do a lot with it. I don't see, unless his placement is absolutely perfect, I don't see a lot of tombstones going up because he's just going to keep feeding it. So maxing his Soul Rip, maxing his Decay, you know, getting those big essential team items up, maybe even AC if he can gather that up as well.
Well, that would mean Sand King's going to need to go to the support role. Do you think that's going to happen?
I don't think so. But I'm just saying it could be an option.
Oh, yeah. So it's possible that's going to go later. If it goes later.
If it goes later, yeah.
So Undying, that would mean the Scarith Mage has to get all the wards.
Yeah,
so
but I mean,
what a tough job.
Yeah, but Scarith Mage can still do things without items, where Sand King and Undying kind of need those items.
I know you guys are getting heated at the moment, but
no, you're not heated at all. I love this guy. He's great.
Let's just quickly cut to a short break, and we'll be right back.
You'll be out in a couple of years, Dr. says, not?
Hello?
This is for me. What's this?
Your bill for speaking to the patient.
This is insane. Why is it so high?
You're speaking during peak visiting hours.
Peak visiting hours? Okay, what is this? Is that a charge for itemized billing?
And then?
Is this literally a bill for a bill?
Itemized.
You wouldn't accept this here. Why accept it from your network? No more bogus bills. New Telkom Free Me. One plan, pick your data, set yourself free. Free WhatsApp calls, texts, and Wi-Fi from just $99 a month.
Welcome back, and guys, you had a lot to say about where the farm is going to go.
Yeah. Well, okay, should I? Yeah. It's just I just think that Carbon is going to not have the free farm that they would have against BVD. I mean, well, any competitive scene actually, if you have two position 3s to get the items they want, this is utopia. Like, you want this in paradise, right? But realistically, I think that the supports are going to struggle a little bit. They're going to need to rely on each other to help out. Modest is not going to get awards and all the dusts and everything themselves.
Yeah.
I think that in the early game, Undying is going to help out, but just to a limit, which creates space for Sand King to get the Blink Dagger, for example.
Yeah.
And then probably from then, Chanel's role comes in. Undying is going to start getting the items himself.
I think an early mech, early Guardian Greaves, it's always a good thing. So I see that going on Undying, but I do see Sand King taking preference for a Blink Dagger, for instance, because it's something that he really does need for a team fight.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're talking GG boots and all sorts of wonderful little items there. Are we seeing anything in particular coming out for the side of BVD? They have a more, I want to say, conventional draft. Do we see anything funny coming out of their side?
I think it's going to be pretty much standard. BVD's not going to take any more chances. They're going to go out, they're going to play their hearts out, and they're going to come to the party. So we're going to probably see a lot of standard things. Maybe from the Tinkers, probably the only player that we could maybe see different items. Maybe trying to get the sheep up, something to kind of deal with the morph. Morph's still a big player on the field, so we need maybe say a bloodthorn, sheep, or something to actually deal with the morph specifically. Other than that, I think everyone else is going to play standard. The Husk's going to get the armlet. Shadow Demon is going to be in your position 5 role. And yeah, the rest of the team is just going to do what they need to do.
Well, the Shadow Demon has options to make illusions.
Yeah, but
Who does he do it to?
We saw how effective the Tinker was yesterday versus the Morphling, and
Yes.
it's just, I think that's going to make a big difference if it's played properly. Which in this level of Dota, it always is
always
played
is.
properly.
There's a few faux pas from time to time, but I mean, we're all human.
Like for instance, running out of mana while you're trying to make a kill.
Well, yes, certainly. Nonetheless, Mirana, we've already spoken about what a crucial role she will play. She will also make the Invis tax a bit of a problem for the side of Undying and Skywrath on the side of Carbon. Nonetheless, we are just about ready to rock and roll. The players are going. Let's shout on over to Hellbird and Prophecy, our shoutcasters.